Hey friend, it is Kate here. Thank you so much for jumping on my channel and joining me here today. Now, it is day 13 of our 30-day challenge. Woohoo! I am so impressed and proud of everyone that's stuck with us so far. And if you're brand new here, just know this whole challenge is all about progress, not perfection. So you can go back and begin from the start, or you can just join us here, and that's wonderful too. It's all about creating some healthy habits, being a little more kind to ourselves, and kind of seeing some progress as we go. Now, we are about halfway through, almost, and I thought we could use a lovely stretch class. So this is about a 35 minutes of nothing but stretching. That doesn't mean that we won't be working. I know some of us stretching is challenging, but my goal is for you to breathe easy as we go. Remember, you can always pause. You can do as much or as little class as you want to. This is all for you. So roll out your mat and let's get started. Okay, we are starting in a comfortable seat. You could even be up in a chair if you feel better doing that, because we're going to work on our upper body a little bit, but eventually we'll be down. So your call. But just give yourself a moment here and maybe close your eyes for a minute and just take note of how you're feeling today. This is not a loaded question by any means. It's just nice to notice sometimes before we begin class where we're at, kind of setting the barometer, if you will. Maybe we have a little tension in certain places. Maybe we feel like we're kind of caving in. Do you notice if your breath's a little fast, a little slow? Can we feel our heartbeat, or is it nice and quiet and steady? Take a big, deep inhale. Big breath out. And take a moment to bring back your intention for our 30-day challenge, whatever it is. And just let it fill your body. Eyes can stay closed or you can blink them open, but all I want us to do from here is start by dipping our chin to our chest. Just let it hang heavy and almost imagine a little string attached to the very back of your head, lightly pulling up, not only lengthening through the spine, but especially through our cervical spine. Take a big inhale, big breath out, and roll your right ear over to your right shoulder. Simply let that head be heavy and easy, opening up to the left side of your neck, and then drop your chin to chest. Roll it to the other side. And bring it back down. And just let your head kind of naturally nod side to side. If there's a spot that feels nice to stay, go right ahead. You can always go a little faster, a little slower than what I'm doing. But when we come over to the right side this next time, stay for a moment or two. Think of lifting your left ear up, pressing your left shoulder down, and then I want you to point your nose down towards your right shoulder, and then point it back straight again. I'll again let that nose kind of dip down, and bring it right back up. 2 more times. Just moving, open it up across your neck. Let it go. Last one down. Take a big inhale. Roll your chin to chest. Roll your opposite ear to opposite shoulder. And we'll do the very same thing, lightly pointing our nose down and looking forward. And you may notice one side you have more mobility than the other. That's normal. Our sides are very imbalanced. We are imperfect beings. It goes right along with our progress, not perfection. You're never going to be perfectly even from one side to the other. So no use in even trying to force it. Just taking a pause, taking a note. Maybe that means you need to stretch a little more there. Maybe you need to relax a little on that side. Last time, roll your chin to your chest. And bring your gaze upright. Keep that nice long neck we just created and roll your shoulders back. Bring your elbows involved. We might feel like a little chicken, but that's okay. And then bring your whole hands involved. Keep your arms long. Take your circles in the other direction. Bring it back just into your elbows. We definitely feel like chickens now, but who cares? No one's watching you. And then finally back into the shoulders. And then from here, I want you to take your hands up nice and high, kind of swivel them behind you like we just did, and then cave forward. Bring those hands to the front of your shins, dip your chin to your chest. And then roll up, reach those hands out and around, circle them back behind you. Now, shoulders, like every other part of our body, can be incredibly different from person to person. So you might have a ton of flexibility through those shoulders and be able to almost touch your hands together the whole time as you swivel them back. Or it might be much smaller than my circle, in which case that is totally fine. Now, lift on up, find a great big straight spine, and I want you to circle to the right. Your right hand can come down behind you, your left hand can come to your left thigh. This might be enough. Wherever you are, though, I want you to feel your sitting bones touching the mat so we're not lifting our left hip up. And I just want you to look over your right shoulder, and you can use your hand to help take that twist a little deeper if you so choose. You might even crawl those fingertips a little further back. For me, the more I think about rolling my shoulder open, keeping my pecs nice and open across my chest, the bigger of a stretch I personally feel. If you're letting your shoulder kind of cave in, that probably means we're trying to force it a little bit too much. Take a big inhale. Let that go. And then same thing, other side. Right hand to left thigh. Left hand's a little kickstand behind you. Now again, we don't want to lift our right hip up. We want to keep that sitting bone grounding down and look behind you. Maybe use your hand to help kind of take that twist a little deeper if we so choose. You might even need to crawl those fingertips further away. No hurry, no rush. Unravel back to center. And then keep those hands on your thighs again, and let's do that little rock and cave back. Kind of like a seated cat and cow, just keeping our hands on our shins right now, still waking up our body, our torso. Pause right here, sit up tall. Think of almost being pulled out of your waist. And I want you to cross your right hand over your chest. Now, a lot of times I see people immediately yank their arm over. We want to be loving and gentle to our body. We don't want to just manhandle it. So think of shoulder staying down. Grab the middle of your arm and lightly hug it in towards your chest. So it's not like I'm trying to drag it as far forward. The more I can keep my shoulder stable, the bigger of a stretch I do feel. Sometimes it feels nice to even wiggle my fingers here or roll my wrist a little bit. Other direction. And then let that go. Do the same thing to the other side. So left shoulder down, left arm in, and a little hug. I almost think about trying to reach my fingertips towards like the opposite corner of the room here while I'm keeping that shoulder in place. Wiggle the fingers, roll it around, and relax. And now from here, we're going to take our right hand up. Now, this again is a very personal place. Some of us can let that hand super yank behind us, and some of us, like me, might just be able to barely touch the middle of their back, and some of us might not be able to get it up at all. That's okay. But again, from here, it's not about how far we can go. It's keeping ourselves in alignment. Draw the ribs in, and think about pointing your elbow straight up to the sky. From here, whether you take your hand across your chest or up and over, I think about pointing my elbow up and then maybe stretching it a little bit more. This can be as big or small as you like. I'm going to turn so you can kind of see it from behind. But from here, it feels nice for me to take a big inhale. And as I exhale, lean over to the left. So now I'm trying to point my elbow towards the opposite corner. Take a great big breath. Exhale, pull your belly button in as you bring yourself up. One more time, up and over. Pull yourself up. Release that hand, kind of wiggle it out. And then we'll take our left hand behind us, or the right if you did the other side. And same thing here. Now, I have a tendency to splay through my ribs. I will consciously try to keep them in, but you keep them in even if I splay a little bit more. So I'm lifting my elbow up, whether you're holding here or kind of pulling it. And again, it could be enough just to hold right here. And then if we want to, we can take our great big side stretch over, pull it all the way up. Stretching over and pulling it up. One more time over. Bring it all the way up and relax. And again, you might have had one side that had way more mobility than the other. I will be honest, my left side does not have as much mobility as my right. I feel that so much more on my left side than I do my right. That's okay. From here, let's go ahead and we're going to come up to our hands and our knees. For any of my friends that have sad knees like myself, you can, of course, grab a towel. You can fold your mat over. For any of my friends that have sad wrists, remember, we can fold up our mat. We can remove some of that pressure from our wrist. But wherever you are, think of suction cupping your hands, broadening across your chest, and let's just tip forward and tip back. You can keep that cat and cow very traditional, or I really like to circle my head and my tail at the same time. I used to work at a studio that called this Disco Kitty, so you can feel like your little kitty cat at a disco right now as you circle your head and tail, and then go the other direction. And then from here, I want you to turn your left foot away from you and reach your right leg long. You can keep it pointing the other way. I personally find like I can balance better with it pointing the other way, but feel free to kind of play with what works best for your body. But from here, I want you to think of stacking your hips and reaching your right hand high. Again, I like to wiggle my fingers out. I notice I kind of relax a little bit when I do that. I don't know if I've just like built that in as a habit. But eventually, I want you to swim that hand up, overhead, and then bring it back over your shoulder. Reach it up, overhead, and back over the shoulder. Now, I will say this. I do not mind if your ribs splay a little here as long as you're not dumping totally into your low back. For me, kind of opening across my thoracic spine, the upper part of my chest, as I open my ribs, I don't lose that low belly connection. I don't lose that length in my low spine. If you find you're splaying through your ribs and you're getting tension in your low back, then you should pause. We don't have to take it quite as far. It's totally up to you. Now, I do want you to take your hand behind your head as a little bit of support. Think of almost pressing your head into your hand and cradling your hand with your head. Take a big inhale, and I want you to curl and look towards the mat. And then inhale, lift your elbow up. Curl towards the mat, and then lift that elbow up. One more time, curl towards the mat. And lift up, hold. If it feels nice to take that hand up or even reach it back behind you, really opening across the chest, you're more than welcome. Maybe find some big creative movements with that arm, maybe even lifting and lowering the hips. I am all about just finding what feels good, but eventually, come on back down to your hands and your knees. Find your tabletop, maybe cat and cow a little, maybe circle around, whatever feels good. But we'll reach our right toe behind us. We'll send our left leg long, and we'll reach our other hand up. And again, we'll just start with that nice reach and pull. Sending that hand over and lifting up. Just exploring any movement that feels nice. When you're ready, hand behind the head, and then curl, twist down. It's a little twist through our spine, little twist through that upper body. Back and forth. Just noticing what feels good, what we need to focus on. One more time. Unravel, reach that hand up. And again, if we want to find some great big circling motions, maybe this side we want to be still, maybe you just want to reach that hand so long, finding a great big side body stretch, do whatever works for you. But eventually, come back to your hands and your knees. Take a moment, take two. And then we're not going to be in downward facing dog for very long, so for my friends out there that aren't a big fan, you can either skip it, do a wall dog, or know that we won't be there forever. But we're just going to tuck our toes, lift our hips,
Keep those knees nice and bent. I'm thinking about pressing my ribs towards my thighs, really elongating through that low back, and then go ahead and drop back down to your knees. Press back, and come on down. One more time, press back and stay. Now we've got those knees nice and bent. We've got our chest reaching towards our thighs, and I want you to straighten just your right leg. And then bend that knee, straighten just the left leg. Bend that knee back and forth. And then from here, let's walk our toes up towards our hands, or hands towards toes, whatever feels better in your body. Deeply bend those knees, let your head be heavy, and really think of curling, just letting yourself relax. Let that head be heavy. Maybe grab your elbows and take a little ragdoll. Now, as you can see, I've got those knees nice and bent, and I'm still kind of letting my chest reach towards my thighs. It is not about where my head is located right now. We're just kind of opening up the back of our body. Let those fingertips be heavy. Dip that head even more, and slowly roll yourself all the way up to standing. Now take a moment right here and just notice. Maybe close your eyes and see what feels different from where we started. Are there places in your body you know you still need to work on? We haven't hit everything yet, obviously, but are there places we have touched that you think to yourself, I could have spent a little more time there? Sometimes it's nice just to notice that, and you can kind of build time in your day to give those areas a little extra love and attention. Go ahead and open your eyes if they're still closed. Drip your chin to your chest. Bend the knees, roll right back down. And then slowly roll right back up. I want us to open up our feet a little bit wider than our mat. And now your toes can either point forward or lightly out to the side. That depends on your turnout. For me, it feels nicest, I guess that's a word, to open my knees out to the side. Oh my gosh, I'm going to edit that out. Go ahead and come all the way up to standing. We're going to step our legs out a little bit wider than our mat, a little bit wider than our hips, and your toes can either be turned out or parallel. That has a lot more to do with your hips and how they're shaped and just what feels good in your body. The important thing though is when you bend your knees, your toes and knees are going in the same direction. So my toes are pointing out this way. If my knees were falling in, then I would need to adjust and bring my toes to face my knees. Vice versa as well. But from here, go ahead and start standing up tall and straight, belly button up and in, and then bend your knees wherever you are. If they're forward, that's fine. If they're off to the side, that's great too. And bring your hands to your thighs. Let's go ahead and rock a little side to side. And then from here, turn and look over your right shoulder. Now you can press a little deeper into that left thigh as you look over, very similar to that little twist we did earlier on in our seat. And then I can cave my chest in here. That feels nice. And then dip over to the other side. Take a breath. One more time over to the right. One more time over to the left. And then even if they aren't already, do point all 10 toes forward and drop down to a great big wide leg forward fold. Knees can of course be soft here. Whether they're straight or bent is totally up to you, but I want you to notice, where is the weight in your feet? Can we lightly rock it into our toes and then back into our heels? Into our toes and back into our heels. If this is not accessible for us today, you could just as easily do this at the wall as well. Forward fold is a very easy spot to accommodate yourself at a wall or using the back of a chair as support rather than worrying about trying to shove your body down. Now, wherever you are, whether you're at a wall or at the ground like I am, I want you to pause and bring that weight nice and center. Almost think of draw your inner thighs towards one another. Take a big inhale. Bend your right knee as much or as little as you want to. It does not have to be the deepest thing ever. Straighten both legs. Bend the left leg. Straighten both legs. Maybe go over to the right again. Center. Maybe over to the left again. Center. Let that head be heavy, and let's heel toe our feet so they're underneath our body. And then from here, I want you to bring your hands to your shins or to your thighs, and then try and press yourself away from your body. Can you, again, straighten your right leg, bending the left, lengthening through the back of that leg. Now, I want you to think about your sitting bone. Do you see my sitting bone is pointing straight back behind me? If I had a round back, that sitting bone would be pointing down, and I'm not getting as deep of a stretch through my hamstring. If instead I reach that hip back, I keep my spine so long, I think about someone pulling that hip back, I get a bigger, deeper stretch through that right hamstring. Bend both knees. Same thing, other side, straighten the left. Now, I'm not like pressing into my left leg because that might be hard on my knee, but I am thinking again of reaching that hip, that sitting bone straight back behind me. And again, you could do this at the wall as well. That would work out just fine. Bend both knees, forward fold. Let your head be heavy again, nod and shake it a little bit. Your hands can be wherever feels nice. I just kind of like to hug my legs sometimes. And then from here, one more time, bend the knees, slowly roll up to standing. My hip is about to pop. You might have heard that on camera. Sometimes it gets stuck a little bit, happens all the time. And drop that chin to your chest. Let your cervical spine be long, just like we started class. Roll one ear to one shoulder. Bring it back. Roll the other ear over. Bring it back. Roll all the way down. So for all my friends out there with hips that make popping noises, whether or not you can hear that through the microphone, I assure you, mine does. It gets stuck all the time. We're going to step back into a great big lunge. I'm going to crawl a little bit forward, but I want us to step our left foot back. Bend your right knee, step that left, and find a great big lunge. This does not have to be the biggest lunge you've ever done, but what I want us to concentrate on is trying to press that back heel towards the ground behind us and kind of pull your front heel towards your back toes so we've got that lift between our inner thighs. It might feel nice to stay right here. This is a big one. We could also lower down and untuck the toes. Now, while I suppose it's a little more supported because we're not having to lift our whole leg up, this is bigger on the hips. You can stay right here or bring one hand to your thigh and lift up. Now for me, I like to take my left hand to the front of my left hip and notice if there's a crease there, if my butt's back, or if I could kind of push my hand forward with my hip, flattening out that area. Again, feel free to stay right here or maybe take your left hand high. Lift it up as high as you can and maybe stretch over towards the right. Take a breath. Circle it down, hands surround your foot. You can stay right here, or sometimes it feels nice for me to bring both hands inside my leg and then I heel toe my foot a little bit wider. That'll depend on your hips. Some of us have more turned out hips, a little more rotation there, internally or externally. So if you want to move it out a little wider so you're in more of a lizard pose, you go right ahead. Holding here for a breath or two can be really nice. And then eventually hinging back. Whether your foot is still in the middle of your mat or right here is totally fine. You can walk your hands a little closer to you and actively flex that foot. Your leg may not straighten, that's okay. And it feels nice to kind of sway my hips here. One of my faves. Knowing there's no hurry, eventually crawl your way forward. If you took your foot out to the side, bring it back. Tuck that toe, lift back up. Now we can stay right here if we want to, or maybe straighten our legs. And now again, this is an easy one to accommodate at the wall. If you're at the wall, we can straighten that leg right here too, and you get that same thing, but we don't have to feel like we're shoving ourselves all the way down. Now notice that back heel, it likes to pop up here. The more I press it down, the bigger of a stretch I feel. And I'm almost thinking about pulling my belly button away from the top of my thigh. Take a great big full inhale. Big, easy breath out. And then rock forward. From here, we're going to hop into our forward fold. gracefully or awkwardly, it doesn't matter. Remember, progress, not perfection. We're not here to look perfect at all. Drop into that nice forward fold. Maybe clasp your hands behind your head, letting yourself rock and sway side to side. And then drop your hands down, bend your knees, and step your right foot back. So we're on the opposite side. Or if you did the other one, that's okay too. And again, we can hold here in our runner's lunge, our low crescent lunge, whatever name you want to call it. There's always a handful. And then maybe dropping that knee down to the ground. Now, whether you tuck or untuck your back toes is kind of a personal preference. Similar to how I said I don't like the kneeling crunches. I don't like tucking my toes. I feel like that puts so much pressure on my patella, my knee. Instead, untucking my toes and pressing into the top of the foot helps to remove that pressure from my knee. Lifting on up. And again, maybe bringing your hand to your hip, noticing if you kind of let that tush go back, or if you can press through the front of your hip to reach it forward and open up. Send your right hand up. And a big stretch over. Big deep inhale. And round down. Again, if you want to bring your hands to the inside edge of your foot so we're more in a lizard and you kind of open up that leg a little bit, you go ahead. It's all about what works for you. And then we can hinge back. Bending our little half monkey pose. Swiveling the hips. Doing whatever works for you. And then we're not going to come back to our forward fold. If you really want to even yourself out that way, you can. We're going to come down to a seat from here. So however you want to make your way to a seat, because we're going to take our feet out in front of us. And I want them about as wide as your mat. And I want you to actively flex your feet. Now, if your knees are bent and that helps you sit up taller and straighter, that's great. If we can straighten them, that's wonderful too. But I want you to feel your heels, fill those sitting bones in, belly button pulls up and in, reach your fingertips up. Exhale, twist to the right. Right hand back, left hand forward. Inhale, unravel, both hands high. Twist to the other side. Inhale, unravel, both hands high, and maybe hinge forward. Now, this is not about coming close to the legs. It's lengthening through the spine. It is very similar to our downward facing dog if you think about it. And we can hold here, but eventually you'll forward fold over your legs, letting your head be heavy. Nod it a little. Shake it yes and no. Slowly roll up. Walk your feet in, and we'll lie down. Oh, my zipper's in the way. Once we're on our back, go ahead and take your hands wherever feels best and just notice what's going on in your body. Are you pulling that pelvis away? Could we lightly imprint the spine so we can elongate? And then I just want you to drop your knees side to side a little bit, back and forth. Come on back to center when you're ready. And let's lift our right foot up to the sky. You can take your hands wherever feels best. Sometimes I like them overhead because I find I'm able to roll my shoulders back a little and kind of open up through my chest. But a T or down by your side is just fine too. And I just want you to roll your ankle around. Roll it in the other direction. And then actively flex the foot. Send that heel up. Slowly press the small of your back deep, deep, deep into the mat so you can feel that elongation of the spine, and press into the ground with your left foot. If it feels nice to keep your leg bent like that, that's great. If you can elongate it, that's fine too. It's totally up to you. If we're in the mood, you can clasp your hands behind your leg. Now, do you feel like you had to lift up to do that? Maybe we need to bring our leg back down. Maybe we just need to not reach for the leg. You don't have to clasp the hands if that's the case. But from here, I want you to think of taking a big inhale. And as you exhale, trying to pull your thigh to your chest. Don't worry about where the toe is. It's trying to create a bigger or closer relationship between your thigh and your chest. Take another big inhale, maybe deepen. One more breath. Let it go. circle that leg around in your ball and socket joint. Circle it in the other direction. And then pull it all the way into your chest. Do a few more bigger circles. And then bend your left leg if you straighten it and cross your right leg over. Now, one thing I'm very picky about, I do not cross at my foot. Do you see how that kind of knocks my ankle? That does not feel so good. That's not pressure we want to put there. Instead, I flex and I put my whole foot across to protect my ankle. Holding here, do you feel like your left hip is lifting off the ground? Can you even that out? Can you keep imprinting the spine? This might be enough here, or lift that foot up. Again, did we let our hip lift? Did we kind of curl it behind us? We want that spine to remain still. You can thread your hands underneath your leg, pulling that thigh a little closer to your chest. And again, it can feel nice to roll the ankle around here. Maybe hugging it a little closer. And then letting it go, setting that foot back on the floor. And again, let's do a little windshield wiper of our legs side to side. And then we'll bend our knees again. Plant your right foot into the floor, send your left foot up. And again, just like we did on the other side, we can roll that ankle. Hands can be wherever feels best. Roll it in the other direction. A few times flex and point. Flex and point. And then again, flex and hold. Maybe elongate the right leg, maybe keep it bent. And then maybe a couple of times, big inhale. Exhale, pull the leg a little closer. Another breath. Exhale, hug it a little closer. Release when you're ready. Bring your knee into your chest. Give it a hug, a squeeze. Find some circles there. And then we'll find our figure four. Again, reaching your whole foot over and across and not letting our right hip lift. Feeling free to hold right here or lifting up that bottom leg. For me, the more I flex before I pull in, the bigger of a stretch I feel, but it's totally up to you. You might feel something a little different. Again, we can roll our ankles. And then pull both knees into your chest, pressing the small of your back down. Elongate your whole body. Reach from the tip of your toes through your body out your fingertips. Take your right foot over to the right a little more, cross your left over, and reach your hands to the right for that lovely little banana or crescent stretch, whatever you want to call it. And then other side we go. And then from here, bring yourself back to center one more time. Stretch from your fingers to your toes, wiggling it out. Maybe opening your hands out to a T and slowly hugging your body. Just give yourself a nice little soft hug. And eventually, we'll roll to one side, push ourselves up to a seat. And just like we started class, maybe close your eyes for a moment and just notice what has changed since you began. Do we feel a little lighter? Do we feel a little more stretchy? There's no right or wrong. Is there some part of your body that you just haven't given enough attention and maybe you want to find another video dedicated to it exclusively?
All answers are perfectly fine and perfectly part of your progress. Blink your eyes open when you're ready. Give yourself a pat on the back, thanking yourself for arriving today, for being here and doing something so good and just for you. I certainly hope you're enjoying our 30-day challenge. I cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Please feel free to reach out on social media and tell me how you're doing.